Welcome back, guys. I'm back with my college football recap. We're breaking down week 2. A lot of chaos this weekend, man. Multiple upsets. The biggest one being Notre Dame, which we'll get into. But let's start with Michigan, Texas, man. This Michigan team looks so fraudulent. It's unbelievable. They don't have a quarterback. I was watching this game and I was thinking to myself, I was like, they look like pre-J.J. McCarthy, and I would never thought I would be saying that. Maybe it's Jim Harbaugh plus J.J. McCarthy, but either way, they don't have a quarterback. Davis Warren looks scared to death back there throwing the ball. I'm not taking away anything from Texas, man. Texas played a good game, and they have some good players, man. Notably, their Heisman candidate, Quinn Ewers, which I'm not the biggest Quinn Ewers fan. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous when he just goes into the big house and knocks off number 10 Michigan like it's cake. But I think this is a shell of the Michigan team that won the Natty last year. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh leaves. Their starting quarterback leaves. They're not going to be the same team, obviously. But with the players they got, especially defensively, you'd expect them to put on a better show than this. And it's not like you don't have weapons on this Michigan team. You got Colson Loveland, who is a freak athlete at the tight end position. He's built almost like an Evan Ingram, more of a receiver than a tight end that you typically think of. He had a big fumble today, but man, he's a stud. Donovan Edwards, stud. They got another running back. I'm blanking on the name right now. Stud. It's just this. They don't have the quarterback play to get these skill guys in positions to make plays, you know? And this Texas team, Quinn Ewers, he's got crazy arm talent. I will give him that. I do want to see better decision-making because, yeah, this is a good Michigan team. But some of the decisions that Quinn makes are just, all right, I mean, that might not fly in a playoff game, you know? That might not fly against Georgia. That might get picked off. I know this Michigan team has crazy secondary. I'm not taking away that. Will Johnson, incredible. But this Texas team makes a statement. They go in. They beat them 31-12. It was a silence the haters game for Texas and a kind of like, all right, where are we going next to the Michigan Wolverines? They dropped to 17. Texas is up to 2 now. Another thing from this game, I'm very impressed by this Texas defense. I know they're coming from like a Big 12. Oh, Big 12 teams can't cover and can't stop the run. That's exactly what this team did. I think they're way more apt to stopping the run than Oklahoma. This Texas team is going to be fun to watch. I want to see Quinn Ewers be careful with the ball. Keep gunslinging, keep doing all that, but maybe not try to force that ball into a tight window sometimes because against these better teams, it's going to get picked off. But played great today. Isaiah Bond, freak athlete. Gunnar Helm had a great day. 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, man, this is all Texas from beginning to end. So we'll go to Notre Dame now, man. What the F happened? I can't. Man, I was about to be like, hey, Notre Dame, look at these guys. They're going out being Texas A&M at College Station. These guys are poised for a playoff run. And then they pay, what was it, $1.3 million to the Northern Illinois Huskies? Is that their mascot? I don't even know their damn mascot, bro. Sorry to Northern Illinois fans, but they go in there and they knock off number 5 Notre Dame 16-14 in an absolutely embarrassing performance from their transfer quarterback from Duke, Riley Leonard. You saw last week, he is pretty shocking throwing the football. He really cannot. He doesn't really have the pocket presence. He wants to get out and scramble all the time. They have good running backs. Jeremiah Love, 11 carries, 79 yards. Good running back, man. I loved him last week. He averaged 7 yards a carry today. Jadarian Price, also very good. But, man, this Notre Dame team is going to have a tough time if Riley Leonard can't figure it the fuck out. He looks just honestly unprepared back there. I don't know what they're doing during the week to prepare for Northern Illinois, but he just looked uncomfortable the entire game. And yeah, dude, you can talk about this Northern Illinois team. That coach, that moment with the interview with him after the game, that was a very cool moment and something that that team and that program, that school will never forget, going into Notre Dame and knocking them off after a huge win the first week, right? However, hate to be that guy, you're Northern Illinois. There is no way in hell you should go in to a team like Notre Dame and beat them. This is 100% Notre Dame losing the game than Northern Illinois winning it. And you can say what you want, man. Their two running backs had 20 and 17 carries. This Notre Dame team, their head coach admitted it. They were looking ahead. They were looking past this team. And this is college football, man. It comes to bite you in the ass. You guys don't have the discrepancy of talent between Notre Dame and Northern Illinois is very great. Don't get me wrong. But these are college kids. You have a bad night. You go out that night before and you don't really properly. There's so many variables that go into all this. You know what I mean? And it just blew up in Notre Dame's face, man. Ole Miss rolls. They beat Middle Tennessee 52-3. Ohio State rolls. Jeremiah Smith, I've been saying, I will keep saying, is the truth. They roll 56-0 against Western Michigan. Georgia handles Tennessee Tech after kind of a weird first half from Carson Beck, 48-3. Fuck's sake, Oregon. Dan Lanning, all that talk last year, they do it for clicks. We do it for whatever. They do it for win, or we do it for wins. They do it for clicks. Whatever the quote was. All right. How about you get your act together, brother? How about you get your number 7 ranked Oregon Ducks team that is supposed to be contending for a Big Ten championship and one of the locks to make the college football playoffs this year in the 12-team format. You go out and you get Dylan Gabriel. What he just look at, he's the box score hero. 18, 21, 243, 2 touchdowns. Great. Jordan James, 17 carries, 102 yards. Great. Evan Stewart, 5 catches, 112 yards, a touchdown. Great. Trayshawn Holden, 4 catches, 78 yards. Ideally, and on paper, Oregon offensively had a pretty decent game. And then you flip it over to the Boise State Broncos and a freaking, I can't even believe I'm saying this right now. Ashton Jeanty, 25 carries, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This guy is different. I didn't even mention him last week because I was like, oh, that's weird. 6 touchdowns. Pretty sick. Not be able to keep that up. Boy, he proved me wrong. He has, through 2 games, 45 carries for 459 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 10 yards a carry, a first down every time he touches the ball on the ground. Think about that. Think about that for a second, guys. Their quarterback went 17 for 40, less than 50% passing, averaged 3.7 yards of completion and a touchdown. They're receiving. They've had 2 guys at almost 50 yards each. How, if you're Oregon, if you can't stop Boise State on the ground, how do you expect to stop these teams that you're going to see in the playoff on the ground, man? They pulled away, they win the game. They go to 2-0. But Oregon is on serious fraud watch for the rest of the year, and they better not get too comfortable because, yes, Ashton Jeanty is good. He will probably, what year is he? Just check real quick. He's a junior. If I'm him, if I don't leave this year, I'm transferring to a Power 4 school and getting drafted that way. Because let's be real, Boise State. I mean, you're putting up crazy numbers, but the thing will get held against you. Oh, you're not playing competition. Okay. He did put up 192 yards and 3 touchdowns, but that's besides the point. All these scouts want to see. I want to see consistent. Blah blah blah. So we go Oregon fraud watch. I'm keeping a close eye on them, and it's not ridiculous to say that at any given point you can lose. Oregon struggled twice at home against 2 inferior opponents. Let's see them play some comp and see how Dylan Gabriel's check down game works. Another team that's 100% overrated in my opinion, Penn State. They beat Bowling Green 34-27. I think Bowling Green, their quarterback, may have been paid off by Penn State before the game because he single-handedly threw this game for the Bowling Green Falcons. He threw 2 picks where I'm just like, dude, I cannot believe that you threw that ball. I mean, I know I'm not. Let me chill. Actually, no. Bowling Green, you have a guy, Connor Basilick. He throws for 254, 2 touchdowns, and 2 INTs. If you're Bowling Green, man, you just can't make those mistakes. I know the bad teams always find a way to lose, okay? You have a guy, Harold Fannin Jr., 11 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. Happy for these guys, man. I'm happy for the Bowling Green Falcons. But I'll say this over and over again. It's about these good teams losing these games or almost losing these games, which I'm like, all right. Last week, Penn State played West Virginia. Penn State, they're playing a close game up until they scored right before half, and that kind of changed the momentum in their favor, and then they got a late touchdown in the third quarter for that game too. That kind of gave them a little cushion. This Bowling Green team came out guns a-blazing. I was watching the Michigan-Texas game until I saw the score, and I was like, there's no way. But a guy like Drew Allar, we'll get to the Oklahoma State Cowboys in a bit, but these guys are just middle-of-the-road quarterbacks that are not going to win you these big games. When Penn State plays these Big Ten guys, it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, and I don't trust Allard to make good decisions, to be honest with you. Nicholas Singleton just keeps proving his case that he's a high-end running back in this country. Excuse me. He had 13 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Katron Allen had 14 carries, 101 yards. That's what you expect against a Big Ten O-line against a Bowling Green front or D-line. Tyler Warren had 8 catches, 146 yards. Those are the type of numbers that you expect. It's just that defense, man. We have some questions to be answered over there. We'll say we'll keep it rolling. We have a lot of games to get through. Missouri handles Buffalo 38-0. Utah dominates early, and then Cam Rising goes down. They beat Baylor 23-12. He went down with a hand injury. Let's see what they're saying about that. We don't think it's serious. That's all we've been told. Let's hope that's the case. It's a finger injury. Rising was shoved into a bank of water coolers. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like just a blunt impact injury, so hopefully that's not broken. I don't think it is. They would have probably announced it by now. But yeah, this Utah team, they have playmakers. I will give them that. However, Cam Rising, you have to show me that you can. If you can't extend plays, you have to show more poise in there, man. You went 8 for 14 for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's cool. This Baylor team is not that great. Utah, Penn State, Oregon, I wouldn't be surprised if all of those guys the first time they play good competition. We'll get to the matchups for next week in a bit. But I'm so curious to see how Utah plays against some good competition because their defense is going to keep them in every game. But can the offense do it consistently and put together methodical drives to keep that defense fresh? Because, like it or not, man, if you leave a defense out in the field for more than half the game and the other team dominates time of possession, that's not a recipe for success at all. Cam Ward dominates again, 3 or 4 passing, 3 touchdowns. Miami beats Florida A&M 56-9. USC, after that big win against LSU, Miller Moss throws for 229 and a touchdown. Woody Marks runs for 103 yards and a touchdown. They beat Utah State 48-0. And then, man, this Tennessee team, Tennessee played NC State. They beat them 51-10. If you watch week 1, this should come as no surprise to anybody. Dylan Sampson is a hell of a running back for Tennessee. And on the other side of things, Grayson McCall, he's not the answer for them. They thought he would come in from Coastal Carolina and kind of be the guy. He's not. He doesn't have the poise. He doesn't have the look to be anywhere near what NC State needs to be successful this season. They got Casey Concepcion on the ball early, and then, I don't know, it was like the other games too. They just kind of went away from him. He's what works. You have to scheme up plays to get Casey Concepcion on the ball. They have Hollywood Smothers too, and Jordan Waiters had 7 carries for -4 yards, man. This is, excuse me, I'm tired. Oh, excuse me. This is what I'm talking about with these transfers that come in. Not all these transfers are elite guys that are going to help you guys win. You can't really bank on a Coastal Carolina quarterback to come in and just light up the ACC. He struggled last week against, West Carolina. You thought about, okay, week 1, first game jitters, whatever, he'll figure it out. No, he did not figure it out. He finished with 104 passing and an interception. On the other side, Nico Yamaliava. I don't know how to say his name. Something like that. They had a pronunciation on the broadcast, and I was trying to figure it out. I probably won't figure it out. Nico is what I'll refer to him as. He had a decent game. You can't throw those interceptions in tighter games, but he's a redshirt freshman. That's something that you can definitely eliminate. You can't with Grayson McCall. There's really nothing to work with. With Nico, you see the talent, you see the intangibles and the physical traits that he has. You can harness that energy and take away mistakes to have a good player. Dylan Sampson, I touched on it. Electric, man. Nico getting out of the pocket, scrambling for 65 yards and a touchdown. Big time. Squirrel White, my boy Squirrel White, I was touching on. Had 2 catches, 67 yards. Everyone else, not great games. But when you have a running back like Dylan Sampson that can pick up the slack for you like he did, and a defense that is constantly getting 3 and outs, forcing turnovers, that's what you want, man. That's this Tennessee team. If I had to pick right now, Tennessee finishes in front of both Oregon and Utah as it stands right now. If I had to pick a team to finish in front of those 2 teams, it would be Tennessee. They look good, man. And I know that might be a little hot take. They look good. Oklahoma, they struggle. I saw a little bit of it from Jackson Arnold last week, and I was kind of like, I don't love him as a quarterback. I think he's better than like these Grayson McCalls, these other kind of middle of the pack, lower end quarterbacks like Drew Allar and Bowman. Will get to Oklahoma State next. But he's not up there with the Nikos. You know, he's kind of like that tier right in between that he can make some good stuff happen, but he's not going to single-handedly carry your team to a win. And Oklahoma, man, they had some serious opportunities to get the boy Deion Burks the ball, and they just didn't. They want to use him as like this underneath threat apparently, because the past 2 games he's averaged about 6 yards a catch, which is just not what you want, right? However, this Oklahoma defense did look good and did keep them in this game. You can't fault. You can say whatever you want about the Oklahoma offense, whatever. Big 12, like I told you, Big 12 has always been you can't stop the run, you can't stop the pass. It's going to be a shootout every single game. I think Oklahoma and Texas kind of took that to heart when looking into the SEC because they knew it was going to be a battle in the trenches every single game. And it looks like they've kind of solved this. I know it's Houston, and I'm interested to see what they look like against better competition. But Oklahoma, another one of these teams where I'm like, okay, man, I don't know if they have the quarterback play to get it done. Jackson Arnold has averaged 5.5 yards of completion. That's not good at all. But they get the win. They go to 2-0. That's, pretty much all I'll say about Oklahoma. And then we go to this crazy Arkansas-Oklahoma State game. Alan Bowman, what a dumbass you are, bro. Come on. You throw an absolute dime to put your team on inside the 10, and you decide to do little finger guns to the Razorback sideline, and you cost your team that big play you just made, and you are one of the reasons why this game goes to overtime in the first place. That right there is just being selfish and being a me guy instead of a team guy. And he's not... I'm not going to make this. If he was Caleb Williams, it would be okay, But you don't have the quarterback play to finger gun the sideline. I'm sorry. You're not that good. You're not that guy. And they needed a crazy finish to win this game, and they go to 2-0. But credit this Arkansas team. They were not letting Ollie Gordon beat them. He had 17 carries, 49 yards, averaged 2.9 a carry. For being an Arkansas team, yeah, you're an SEC team, but not really one of the ones where you're like, okay, watch out for them. They might make a run. To hold an NFL prospect like Ollie Gordon down to 2.9 a carry, that's a win. That's one of the reasons why they were in this game to begin with. They said, okay, we're going to stack the box and we're going to let Alan Bowman try to beat us. And he had to throw the ball 48 times. Brendan Presley had 9 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown for the Cowboys. Other guys chipped in too. Rashad Owens, 64 yards. Jake Schultz had a big catch. But, man, this Taylor Green guy, this quarterback from Arkansas, he has, like, every physical characteristic you would want in a quarterback. And just, he didn't play bad. I don't want to say it like that. But he's just kind of missing that little piece of his game where you're like, oh, man, like, can he do that? Can he make that throw he just made consistently? Because if so, he could be a serious threat, and they might have something there. But he transferred from a bigger school. I'm blanking on where he transferred from. But, man, he could be talented. He makes stuff happen. And if there's an Arkansas game on and I'm not watching anything else, I'll definitely tune in just for Taylor Green. He's fun to watch, but he made some critical mistakes late, and that kind of lost on this game. Ja'Coon Jackson had 24 carries, 149 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was battering this Oklahoma State. This is what I'm talking about with the Big 12 defense, man. They can't stop the run. Taylor Green had 18 carries for 61 yards. He was doing everything, man. Andrew Armstrong had 10 catches, 164 yards. Yeah, man, this game ended with an OT. An OT game. Sorry, I'm gonna keep yawning. It's late here. OT game. Arkansas has the ball. They miss their kick. Oklahoma State just needs a field goal to win it. They miss their kick. They then score, and then the Arkansas Razorbacks can't get in the end zone to tie. It was just one of those games where I was like, dude, come on. Like, these teams are going to have a rude awakening when they play each other later down the stretch, and they get kind of a sense of reality to them. But Arkansas just put the game plan of how to beat Oklahoma State on for everybody in the country to watch. Stack the box. If Alan Bowen beats you, you shake his hand, you'd be like, hell yeah, dude, great game. Maybe get some finger guns from him. But that's how you beat them. We'll move on. I'm not a huge Alan Bowman guy after that. I was just like, how do you cost your team like that? We'll move on to another fraudulent team who played a better. This Tulane team is not bad. I will give them that. This Tulane team is not bad. However, this Kansas State team is picked to finish or win this Big 12 conference. We'll get to the matchup against U of A in the predictions at the end of this, but they got bailed out. Tulane scored with 11 seconds or something like that on like a phantom rub play, and the refs called it back on OPI, and the Wildcats ended up picking it off to seal the game. But they got bailed. Some weird shit could have happened in overtime. But it was really just that forced fumble that Tulane forced, or that the Kansas State Wildcats forced on Tulane to run it back for a touchdown, which was the kind of deciding factor for this game. Avery Johnson had 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. DJ Giddens looks like a talented back, man. He's good. 19 carries, 114 yards. But just nothing really doing for this receiving game. Yeah, they leaned heavily on DJ Giddens, and Darian Mensah on the other side for the Green Wave. He had 342 passing and 2 touchdowns with an interception and that fumble he lost, which actually that was what really killed him. That fumble 6 was really just the complete momentum shifter for this game. Malky Hughes had 21 carries, 128 yards and a touchdown. Mario Williams had 6 catches for 128 yards. Like, this is a pretty back and forth game, and it was a fun game to watch. But Tulane couldn't pour it on in the second half, and that fumble cost them, man. Kansas State, I'm interested to see how this freaking U of A game goes next week, because you got a U of A team that is struggling on both sides of the ball. They struggled this week against NAU. We'll get to him in a bit. I'll hold off on that. But we'll jump to LSU against Nicholls. This game was close for some reason. I have no idea why. Gary Nussmeier finished with 302 passing and 6 touchdowns. So felt like it was kind of one of those games where it was like, all right, it was close. Halftime, it was like a weird score, and then LSU pulled away. But LSU defense has some questions to be asked for giving up 21 to Nicholls. That should not happen. You were LSU. You have produced some of the greatest players in the past decade. There's no reason that should be happening. Yeah, man. They handle at the end of the day. We'll jump to Illinois, Kansas. Just give me 1 second. I'm drinking water. Hold on. All right, we're back. Illinois beats Kansas. And this Kansas team, this Jalen Daniels guy, he was like one of the top people to watch for a potential Heisman. I was like, I never thought, all right, this guy's crazy talented, physical skills off the charts. He can't make good decisions with the ball. And this showed against a Big Ten team in the Fighting Illini where you're like, all right, yeah, Big Ten defense, cool. It's Illinois. They're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. They're actually 2-0. They go and beat a ranked Kansas team. So before I hate on them too much, I want to talk about Jalen Daniels. He threw 3 picks. Couldn't help his team out at all. You turn the ball over 3 times and lose a fumble, you're not going to win the game. That's just how it is. Turnover margin, you can look at that, and if one team has more than another, you can 90% of the time you can bet that the team that turned it over less wins the game. That shouldn't be a aha moment for anybody. But Jalen Daniels, 18 for 32, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs. Like I talked about, Devin Neal had 14 carries or 101 yards. This Kansas team, man. They're not ranked anymore. Obviously, they struggled. I don't really see them crawling back and making a case for a playoff spot after this. I don't think they have the talent. Just looking at their depth chart and stuff, and they definitely don't have the quarterback that's going to carry them like that. Don't get me wrong, he's crazy talented, but he just doesn't. He's not. Lamar. I don't want to kind of parrot people for being like, oh, he's not a quarterback, like what they said about Lamar. But this dude's actually not a quarterback. He just makes a ton of plays and has a huge arm. Sorry, Kansas fans. That's just the truth. And we'll go to U of A now because I'm not pulling any punches. NAU football, for those of you that don't know, it's like the first offer you get when you are any type of recruit in Arizona. Like you get NAU, you get like Idaho, and that's pretty much the first 2 offers they get. Nothing wrong with both those schools. Division I football. I'm making a podcast. Obviously, these guys are crazy talented, way more talented than I was, okay? But you're the 20th ranked team in the country at U of A. And the Lumberjacks just put the game plan, the blueprint out there for every team in the country, kind of like Arkansas did, is if you bracket Tatario, that dude looks disinterested anytime he's not getting the ball. He doesn't look like a team player. He had 300 yards last week, 2 this week on 1 catch. They were just bracketing him, double and triple teaming him, and no one else could really win. And that's the problem. Is like, okay, yeah, you have a NFL prospect right here in Tatario McMillan where he's a freak, dude. Don't get me wrong. Hell of a player. And Noah Fafita, great player. But if you can't have that secondary guy who can win 1v1 with all that attention on Tatario, it is trouble, man. I liked U of A going into the year. They had Quali Conley, too, 17 carries, 122 yards. He looks pretty – he has some juice to him, but it's that passing game where, all right, if we bracket T-Mac and we kind of stack the box with this, but we drop some, Noah Fafita has looked very shaky and questionable in his decision-making the past 2 weeks. And not to throw shade at New Mexico and NAU, but those are not 2 teams that you should be struggling against like that, you know? I wouldn't say he struggled against New Mexico. It was just, like, give the T-Mac and let him run. But yeah, man, they just showed if they take that away, he struggled. So they got some stuff to figure out this week prior to that matchup with Kansas State I mentioned. We'll get to that in a bit. Iowa State, man, this is just typical Iowa State, Iowa ball. Iowa State beats them 2019 on a freaking last-minute field goal attempt, I believe it was. Sorry, there's a lot of football I've been watching this week. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, though. I caught the end of this game. I can't really speak on it too much. I just know by looking at these stats, Iowa quarterback had 99 yards and 2 picks. Tell you there, that's a problem. That's not good. Iowa had 25. Iowa running back Caleb Johnson had 25 carries, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their leading receiver had 47 yards. Everyone else had less than 11. That adds up from the Iowa side of things. Flip it to Iowa State now. Rocco Becht. I don't know who that is. There are so many teams and players in college football. I'm sorry. He had 272 passing and 2 touchdowns with an INT. That's better than the Iowa quarterback. Their running back, Abu Sama, had 17 carries, 58 yards. And their leading receiver had 5 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown, which you don't really expect Iowa to give up like that. But game was 13-0 at halftime. Iowa State comes back and wins it. True rivalry game. Cyclones get the best of them. Iowa, they're just a grindy football team, man. That's how most of their game's going to go. We'll jump to Louisville now. They are actually talk about a team that's fun to watch and should be higher than they are. They jumped up this week, but they were 22 last week. They whooped Jacksonville State 49-14. Tyler Show had 349 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chandler, Arizona native. Yeah, man, he impressed. Maurice Turner had 12 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Ja'Cory Brooks had 6 catches, 89 yards. Yeah, man, this Louisville team, I want them to play comp because I'm not sure about their defense still, but offense looks good, man. No complaints there. And then you got Syracuse going, Kyle McCord, legacy game, 381 passing, 4 touchdowns. They're not them, wherever you're saying on the sideline. Like, come on, dude. This Georgia Tech team, don't get me wrong, was good. But the reason they were ranked last week was because of that first week Florida State game. And we've seen Florida State is not like that. Georgia Tech had a good game plan. They executed. Give them props. But Florida State is not the playoff contender that people thought they were. Syracuse beats them 31-28. Hey, Yellow Jackets made it tough at the end, but Kyle McCord, I still don't think you're great, but you had a great game. He's laughing at all the Ohio State people being like, "Oh, I told you so." But he's the one that's at Syracuse. Syracuse is 2-0. We'll get to their schedule in a bit right after this Clemson game. But I want them to play an actual team. I want Syracuse to play Miami and see if Kyle McCord goes for 381 passing and 4 touchdowns. Transitioning to better. Clemson, they're pissed. They put up 66 points against App State. They give up 20 still, which is just not a good sign. But Cade Klubnik throws for 378 and 5 touchdowns. Phil Maffa has 10 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, they get back against a poor App State team that was just, they were always going to thump them. Dabo was probably seething all week after that loss to Georgia. That was embarrassing. But then you got Colorado, man. That was the game. I think everyone was kind of curious to see how it went, see if Colorado made any changes from last year, and they didn't. Dion, I will stand by that Shador is a top 10 talent for this year's draft. You have quick character issues and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of talent, he's good, bro. If you speed up his decision making and processing time, he could be something special. Travis Hunter didn't have the greatest game, but he's special, man, too. Those two guys, no matter what, will always be and should be high draft picks. But they were found out against this damn Nebraska team. Matt Rule has these Nebraska corn-fed boys riled up and ready to go. Dylan Raiola, 23 for 30, 185, and a touchdown. Not a great game from him, but he's a true freshman playing against Colorado. I know their defense is not good. I know. But as a true freshman, he had a crazy throw cross body, which was more about to show off his arm talent than the quality of the throw. The arm talent's there. He looks like a great value Patrick Mahomes. That's not a diss. If you could be half the player Patrick Mahomes is, you'd be a great NFL starter. But I do want him to get more experience. It was a good game for him. But yeah, this defense is really just what won the game. Shador finished with 244, a touchdown and an interception. He left with some phantom injury. I don't know. Just Dion, that Colorado Buffaloes team is just all over the place. Travis Hunter actually finished with 10 catches, 110 yards. I mean, great, but they scored 10 points. This Nebraska team, man, they are a bunch of dogs, and they had a great game plan, and they executed, mainly because no one on this Colorado team. Actually, I don't even want to diss them like that. Colorado just doesn't run the ball. Shador was sacked for a total of negative 30 yards. That's never good. That put the total to 16 total rushing yards for the game. But you don't even give guys an opportunity to see if you do have something and take the pressure off Shador for just a second, man. Holy shit. Dion, your kid is going to be fine. He's going to get taken high. Don't sacrifice him getting injured and his team being a complete bust again because you were refusing to run the football. You have to coach here, man. You can't just be like, okay, we're playing flag football. My son's the quarterback. I'm throwing up to his best buddy, Travis, and all the other teams can go fuck off. No, you are a football coach for a Big 12 program and a Colorado team that gave you a freaking chance and a stage to have your son and your kid play from. You should reward them and should be grateful and gracious for even letting them give you that opportunity, because I'm assuming Colorado is the only fucking school that would hire your ass. Jacksonville State, you know all the drama that's coming with Dion. And don't get me wrong, he's done such a great job getting eyes and the media following this Colorado team. But, man, you look yourself in the mirror and you have to be like, all right, these are a bunch of kids. You always preach about these kids that you're all about the kids. You're a God-fearing man. You are a believer in Christ. Stop saying all that stuff and not acting like it, man. It's honestly like, I just shake my head when I'm thinking about it right now, to be honest. But it's like, come on, man. Like, be a leader for these guys. And I don't know, I feel like every motivational speech is somehow caught on camera. It's almost like you have a camera crew following you around, and then you like snap at them and you're like, hey, I'm about to have a motivational speech, and then you film it and you post it. So it seems like you're doing the job. But man, the results are not showing up. And Nebraska's a good team, well coached, but putting up 10 like that when you have that talent is just embarrassing. And again, I'm sitting here making a podcast. Who am I to judge about anything? But that's just what I'm seeing, Coach. Um, yeah, man. They see some other games that I'm missing here. I think that was the big ones, unless I was missing something. Cal beat Auburn. Um, that's pretty big news actually. Fernando Mendoza had 233 passing and 2 touchdowns. They beat him 21-14. Go Golden Bears, man. Good for them. I didn't watch that game. Obviously, I didn't even know. I forgot that even happened. Virginia beat Wake Forest 31-30. Yeah, man. I think that's kind of summed up the big games. Unless I'm missing something now. I think that's it. Oh, the Mississippi State-Arizona State game. I do want to touch on this. First off, they're a hometown team, so I feel like I had to talk about them. But Sam Leavitt, man. Why are you such a freak athlete? You look super dynamic running the ball. I think this Sun Devils team might get exposed with, all right, we'll stack the box against Cam Scatterbo. 33 carries, by the way, 262 on the ground. That dude is a freaking animal. He does not go down on first contact. He fights for extra yards. He's super impressive to watch, actually, man. There's a reason he's an NFL prospect now. And that's, I don't know, that dude is just wired differently. He averaged almost 8 yards a carry. I did watch this game live, so I can talk more in depth about it. I apologize if I don't get in depth about every single game because I just have so many games to watch, So just take that into account if I don't go into some games as much. But I did watch this game. Sam Leavitt does have accuracy issues, and that is gonna be how this team gets found out because if you just put on the tape and watch this Sun Devils team play, you can force him out of the pocket. And he will get active. He makes people miss. He had this nasty spin move. I was like, damn, this guy's actually kind of a way better athlete than I think anyone thought. But then you see him throw the ball, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's how we're going to beat him. Doesn't really have the best timing on his routes. Doesn't really understand, I don't think, the system yet. Either that or he just can't make the throws. We'll see. He only finished with 69 yards passing, averaging 3.5 yards of completion. That is awful. Really, really bad. But yeah, Cam Scatterbo just carried the Sun Devils team. Sorry, I'm losing breath again. Hold on. Excuse me. So, we'll flip to the Mississippi State side. Their quarterback, he had some untimely sacks and stuff like that. He had a fumble that turned into a fumble 6. Some ASU D lineman had a nice play to stretch it out over the goal line and score a touchdown off of it, but he finished with 18 for 28, 268, and 2 touchdowns. That's not bad, averaging almost 10 yards of completion. The box score says that guy played good. If you watch the game, it was mostly down the stretch where those numbers came in, including a huge touchdown by Kevin Coleman, 80 yards. And this game should not, if you look at the score and you're like, all right, 30-23, that is just not how the game went at all. ASU was up 27-3 at half, and they go out and they almost get blanked. They score a field goal in the third quarter, but they get blanked in the fourth quarter, and they let the Bulldogs come back all the way to make it a one-score game. And you're kind of like, dude, you need Scatterbo to put the team on his back and run for 262, and he's not going to do that every game. So, yes, Arizona State 2-0. Happy for them. First time ever beating an SEC school, which I thought was a crazy stat, considering how long they've been around. But I think they've only played SEC schools 6 times now, which I'm like, okay, how does that happen? But I digress. They beat Mississippi State. They fall to 1-1. And yeah, man, those are the big games from this past week. I know I kind of flew through all those. Time is it? Not really. It's 50 minutes in. But we'll look ahead to next week. I'm just going to give my brief who wins, who loses over the games that I'm seeing. Thursday, we got Arizona State at Texas State. If Texas State stacks the box, they win this game. It's really that simple. Sam Levitt, I don't think can throw the ball. I'll pick Texas State to win that game. The big game, U of A, Kansas State. I think Kansas State gets it done. It's at home. If they don't double team T-Mac, that's just pure stupidity on their part. They didn't watch film, I guess, if they don't double team him. But U of A just has to get either T-Mac more involved with more creativity or someone else needs to step up. But I don't see Kansas State losing this game. I'll take them. Bama goes to Wisconsin. Should be an interesting game, probably low scoring. I don't think Bama gets upset, but I think this game is probably won within 10 points, I think. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. Jalen Milroe, he needs to show that he can kind of, I didn't go over the Alabama game, but they had a scary, weird little game they had against USF. They pulled away at the end. The final score was not bad at all, but that was a little weird. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like WTF moment for Alabama on Nick Saban field reveal day. So they look to bounce back, kind of show out against Wisconsin. LSU plays South Carolina. South Carolina did beat the brakes off Kentucky, so that should be an interesting game. But yeah, I think that might be a 38-20 or 38-37 type of game for LSU. I don't think either team will be able to stop the other. LSU's offense, I think, is very, very high-powered, but they've shown they give up points. South Carolina showed that they can score points. So I think it'll be a close game. I wouldn't be shocked if South Carolina beat them, but I'm not going to take South Carolina. I'm going to take LSU just based on Brian Kelly and coaching like that. Let's do Missouri Boston College. At Mizzou. Boston College has shown they can go in places and just rip the hearts out of everyone there. I don't think they do it this time. I think Mizzou gets it done, but I think this Boston College team is going to make it close, man. It might come down to a game-winning field goal. The spread that it's minus 16.5 for Mizzou is unbelievable. I think that is a hammer all day, every day, considering what this Boston College team in terms of time of possession and how they play defense against that Florida State team. I'll take Mizzou, but I wouldn't be shocked if Boston College wins that game either. We go to the Oregon State rivalry. I'm not going to pick Oregon State. I really was about to say I pick Oregon State. I'm not going to pick them. As bad as they looked, I think something gets figured out, man. But I'm taking Oregon there. Notre Dame tries to redeem itself against Purdue. Texas A&M Florida should be a fun game. I'm taking Florida, and I like Lagway a lot. He had a crazy first game as a freshman, and I'm excited to see what he does as like a rebound game in the swamp. You get did it again. Damn. I'm getting exhausted. Hold on. You got Georgia, Kentucky. That's not a great game either. Nebraska's ranked. They get NIU. New Mexico plays Auburn. Hopefully Devin shows up for that game. That should be fun. That Auburn team's gonna have to bounce back though. That might be brutal. That might be like a 70-point game Auburn puts on them, but we'll see how that game goes. And yeah, man, that's really the big matchups this week. There's probably going to be craziness that happens again that I'm just overlooking because I think these teams are more competent and better coached than they are. If I had to pick an upset, it would be BC at Mizzou. That would be my upset of the week. I think BC just well coached, and they're going to go in with an excellent game plan. And if they can execute it, and Brady Cook does turn over the ball, I could see the Eagles winning that game. So I'll take them, actually. I'm flipping my opinion. I'll take them. But yeah, man, that's week 3. My just quick fire predictions. Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys listening. It's tough doing solo pod. I don't really have anyone to bounce off ideas, but I appreciate you guys kind of listening to me rant and ramble. But yeah, I'll plug. Make sure you guys go follow the Insta and TikTok. It's Let's Talk Ball _podcast on both of them. Just go give it a follow, give it a like. I'm not trying to get. The goal is not to get crazy famous. I just enjoy doing this a lot, and kind of gives me something to focus on. And what's better than college football, man? But thank you guys for listening, and I will be back next week with another college football recap video. Take care, guys. Bye.